Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about hazard perception and one of the sayings that I have about you can be right or you can be dead right. In other words, the right of way is always given, it is not taken. And if you do insist on taking the right of way and not yielding to other drivers on the roadway, you are going to risk a crash. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I do have a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to go over that, because I had some feedback from one of the smart drivers, and generally when I get feedback from one or two smart drivers, there's generally a significant number of people in the background who are saying to me that what I need to do is I need to have these videos so that they also work on the replay. And I've sort of been kind of loosey-goosey over the summer where I've sort of been interspersing it through answering questions. So I need to get back to that. So I do actually have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to put up for you. E-Sky is here. The word dead. Yes, there we go. So Bricks for Wheels is here. Bricks for Wheels is Corey. Corey is the moderator and does a really great job of getting videos up for us. So there we go. And Ismail is here and asked me the question if the Pass Your Road Test First Time course will work for Quebec. Yes, it will work for most of North America and the world. All of the driving techniques and skills and abilities that I have in that course will work for everybody in the world. Everything is more or less the same. And of course, when you purchase that or enroll in that course, you have complete access to me and to ask me any questions. And again, I've driven in Australia as well. I trained in Australia, drove coach there. I've driven all through North America and in Europe. So you can ask me any questions and I can answer the questions. If I can't answer the questions, I'll find somebody that can answer the questions for you. So if you enroll in the courses, that's what you get included in that. As well, be sure to head over to the Smart Drive Test website, the 100K program that we have going on, where we're going to help 100,000 drivers in the next year to pass their road test regardless of class. So we're going to do that as well. And head over there, sign up for that, and register with that, and help us reach our goal of 100,000 drivers. So Jaden is here. I was on the road and someone wanted to get it in because the aero board told him to do. You have to wait for the driver to go through, or do you just go first? Jaden, I'm sorry, I'm not quite following what you're asking me in terms of the question. Are you talking about on the freeway? Is that what you're talking about? I'll just answer that question. So Anita's here, Marlene is here. Maurice is here. What about New York? Yes, Maurice, the course will also work for New York City, especially New York City. The only thing, there's a couple of minor differences, Maurice, in New York City and the 5 boroughs in New York City, is that you can't make a right-hand turn on a red light. That's one of the few differences, okay? So Lacey Lynn is here, and definitely thumbs up. Thank you so much, Lacey. And if you give the video a thumbs up, if you're watching on the replay, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to Smart Drive Test, definitely consider subscribing. Ellie is here. Got my G2. That is excellent, Ellie. Congratulations on getting your G2 there in Ontario, and definitely head over to the Smart Drive Test website and register with the 100K program. 380's here. Hi there, 380. And yes, some great contributions here and whatnot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through the PowerPoint presentation with you and just go over that, give you some ideas about hazard perception, because essentially that's what I'm talking about. Yasin is here, and we're going to give you some information about that. And the reason that I talk about hazard perception is because it's one of the reasons that inexperienced drivers get into crashes, because they haven't yet developed that lexicon or that list of hazard perceptions. And one of the reasons this is because after getting a license, many new drivers fall into that category of social driving, and they follow what everybody else is doing, and oftentimes other people are following too close. They're getting too close to other vehicles on the roadway, and they have that kind of herd pack mentality, and when they do that, it puts you at a very high risk of being involved in a crash. So what I say is, don't get near anything, that way you're less likely to be in a crash. Okay, so Jaden, I meant to say, an aero board is standing alone but no construction. Does the car have to merge in front of me? Okay, so aero board is standing alone but no construction. Does the car in front of me have to merge? Not necessarily, Jaden, but if there are construction signs there, then you definitely have to you know, follow the signs and obey the signs in the construction areas, especially here in Canada and North America. That can be quite an expensive fine if you're disobeying the signs or you get caught or those types of things. So be sure to do that. Okay, Ismael, do you have to read the 2 books? No, Ismael, you don't have to read the 2 books in Quebec. I know there's 2 books for the driving exam there. But what I do suggest to you is to do the practice driving test questions that are in the course. There's approximately 100 questions, practice driving test questions in the course. Do those questions, identify the gaps in your knowledge, and then go back to those 2 books and read the sections that you need, that you are lacking the information. Because I know that there's 2 books there, and that can be daunting to read those driver's manual. And this goes for anybody else who's studying for a learner's license out there. If you're studying for a learner's license, don't read the whole book. Go online, read, do the practice driving test questions, identify the gaps in your knowledge, and then go back to the books and just read the sections that you don't have information about. Okay? So there's a lot of people on the live stream here. If you ask a question and I don't get to your question, just ask me again, because there's a lot of people here and there's a lot of questions, and I try and get to everybody, but it's not possible for me to get to everybody. Okay? So, and Corey's put up the 100K campaign that we have going on to help 100,000 drivers in the next year to pass the road test. Canada is here, and thank you very much for that. Maurice, I need driving lessons, but I don't have anybody to teach me. Yeah, unfortunately, that's tough, Maurice, but you definitely need to try and find somebody to help you get practice. Drive test, but I am so excited. Please give me some advice. Okay, Canada, we're definitely going to talk about that. I'm going to do the PowerPoint presentation to catch up here. Edgar's here. Kevin, thank you very much for your videos. Really helped me pass my driving test and improve my driving skills. And excellent. Thanks so much, Kevin. Congratulations on passing. And again, head over to the Smart Drive Test website. Corey's put the link up there just a little bit. And be sure to register for the 100K program. We're working to help 100,000 drivers pass the road test in the next year. Canada, what did you ask me? Yes, Canada, I will give you some advice, so we'll do that after I do the presentation. Marlene, I really need help in navigating curves and corners. Okay, so Marlene, there's a video on curves, and Corey will find that for you and help you out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to the PowerPoint presentation. I'll do that, and then I'll come back and I'll answer questions. All right? So just bear with me for 1 sec here. Okay, that did not work. 1 sec. That did not work because this is what we need to do. There we go. All right, so transition. Here we go. Okay, so hazard perception. We're talking about hazard perception. For those of you who don't know, my name is Rick August, and yep, there we go. I was a truck driver through most of the 1990s. I worked for Greyhound and regional bus driver in Australia. I was there for between 2003 and 2006 when I returned to Canada. I was a licensed driving instructor. I've been a licensed driving instructor for almost 20 years now. And I earned a PhD in legal history, particularly for those of you who don't know, legal history is the study of policing, courts, and prisons, and my expertise is in policing, specifically as it relates to traffic. So that's me in a nutshell and who I am and what I've done. All right, so nobody's immune from traffic crashes, and Paul, I can't remember his last name now. But anyway, Paul Walker died in a car crash. Prince Diana, James Dean, and then Tim Horton, who is infamous with coffee here in Canada, died in a crash. So nobody is immune from crashes. And this is why I talk about hazard perception, because if you can interpret hazards before they become something that's dangerous to you on the roadway, you're going to reduce the risk of being involved in a crash. So what is a hazard? A hazard is essentially anything that could materialize and cause you to be involved in a crash. And driving is obviously hazardous because we're in vehicles that are traveling at speed, and you can either hit a vehicle, another road user on the roadway, or you can hit a fixed object and you can be involved in a crash. You can sustain property damage, you can be injured, you can be killed, you can incur risk of being injuring other road users and other pedestrians and other drivers on the roadway. So hazard versus risk. A hazard is something that has the potential to harm you. So hazard perception. So you can interpret it as a hazard. And the risk is the risk of likelihood or of harm or causing harm. And a lot of times we don't properly interpret risks. We're much more afraid of being attacked by sharks than we are of car crashes. And therefore, sometimes I think that we don't put in place the proper measures to protect ourselves in the event of a car crash, because oftentimes cars are comfortable and we don't possibly think that they're going to be able to injure us. So essentially, hazards are any event on the roadway that could cause you to be in a collision that could cause harm to your person or property. And again, one of the other things I'm going to say about traffic crashes and hazard perception, and I come back to this again and again, is that you can be right or you can be dead right, which is essentially the topic of this presentation. And dead right means that you can just force your way through, take the right of way, follow too close, be too close to other cars, and you're going to be at a very high risk of being involved in a crash. Whereas if you properly manage space around your vehicle and you sort of hold back a little bit, you're going to be less likely to be involved in a crash. So this is what we're talking about tonight. So traffic crashes happen a lot more than people think, and many people are not afraid of traffic crashes. They don't think that they're going to happen to them because they're in control. They're the ones driving the vehicle. But the odds of being involved in a traffic crash are actually pretty high. So it's like 1 in 84. The only things that are more dangerous than being involved in a car crash that are going to hurt you are strokes, heart disease, and to other types of terminal illness. But generally that's associated with age, strokes, and heart disease. Not always, but much more so. So the chances of being attacked by a shark are 1 in 3 million, almost 1 in 4 million. Injured in fireworks, die from fireworks, 134,000. So the chances of dying from a fireworks accident is much higher than being killed by a shark attack. Drowning is 1 in 1,200, so it's pretty low. And car accidents are much higher. So car accidents are like in the risk of being attacked by sharks are like pretty high, or pretty low rather, and then traffic crashes are pretty high. So what is involved with driving? So there's many variables in driving that come together that make driving incredibly complex, and those things are drivers, vehicles, traffic, road, light, and weather. And all of these things can come together, and this is one of the things that I talk about in terms of autonomous vehicles. And I've been approached in the past to work on retrofitting cars back to 2012 so that they can become autonomous, and I actually declined on that because the way that they were going about it was that they were going to have traffic scenarios, and they were going to have teaching computers through repetition of different driving scenarios. But the problem with that is that every time you go out on the roadway, you're going to encounter these 6 variables in different combinations, and any stretch of roadway that you're on at any given time of day, you can never replicate that, because at any given time of day there's going to be a different combination of vehicles, and there's going to be different drivers in those vehicles. So you're never ever going to completely be able to replicate a driving situation, and this is why traffic becomes so difficult, and why driving becomes so complex, and you are at such a high risk of being involved in a traffic crash. And the components to master for not only defensive driving but also driving to pass a road test, and this question was asked by one of the smart drivers here on the live stream tonight. What do you need to do? You need to have space management, speed management, observation, and you need to communicate. And I believe that space management is the most important. If you don't get near other road users, you don't get near other vehicles, you don't get near fixed objects, it's less likely that you're going to be involved in a traffic crash. Now, obviously you have to have speed management to be able to manage space. You have to observe correctly, so you have to be doing your shoulder checks, you have to be looking far down the road and looking at traffic patterns and trying to interpret the actions of other road users. And you need to communicate effectively with other traffic so that they know what you're doing on the roadway. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the question period and how that relates specifically to driving and passing a road test. But these are the 4 fundamental components of both defensive driving and passing a road test. Now, experiential. Interpreting traffic hazards and what's going to cause you to get into a crash takes a certain amount of experience when you're driving. For example, if you're making a left-hand turn, it's experience that you need to know that you don't turn your tires when you're waiting to turn left, because what's going to happen if you turn your tires when you're waiting to turn left, you get rear-ended, you're going to be pushed into oncoming traffic. Now you're going to be in 2 car crashes and not just 1 car crash. So you always want to keep your tires straight. The other thing is if there's vehicles nosing out of a side street or they're nosing out of a gas station or something like that, always know that those people are probably going to come out and you want to be covering their brake and you want to be ready. Another one is if you're passing transit buses in an urban area, you want to be especially cautious because you know that there's passengers rather on the bus that are getting off and on, and they could be walking out in front of the bus and those types of things. So you want to be ready for that. And these are some of the hazards that you're going to encounter when you're driving on the roadway. Bicycles in bicycle lanes and those types of things. If they're weaving in and out of that bicycle lane, you know that they're not very comfortable on their bicycle, so you need to, again, give them as much space as you can and maybe even change lanes and move into the other lane of traffic if it's possible to do that, to get away from these other traffic and those types of things. And I did a survey some months ago on the channel asking people why new drivers at are higher risk of being involved in crashes, and many people said it's about experience. But that experience ties in with lack of hazard perception abilities, and I truly believe that. And for young drivers, drinking, driving, dating, distracted driving, all of these things come together to make the task of driving much more difficult because you're encountering all of these things for the first time as you're learning to drive. And then, of course, there's communication and observation. Drivers are seeing, but they're not looking at what is important on the roadway. So all of this comes together for hazard perception. Okay, predictability, and I believe that driving is a social activity, and the reason that most people get into crashes is because they do something unpredictable. For example, they don't wait for sufficient gap when they're making left-hand turns. They pass on roadways and they're not predictable in terms of how much space they need to pass safely because they don't know, because they don't have the experience. So what you need to do is you need to prepare for the unexpected, and you need to put in place habits and techniques and skills that will keep you safe when you're driving. But you need to remain predictable according to a set of loose road rules and the constructs of social driving. And a lot of people say to me, well, if people follow the speed limit, they follow the rules of the roadway, they're going to be safe. And that's simply not true, because criminal law does not stamp out crime or eradicate crime, and traffic laws are no more going to eradicate traffic crashes. So those two things don't work hand in hand. You need to be predictable, you need to communicate effectively, and you need to manage space well if you're going to remain crash free. So predicting traffic patterns, and here's another perfect example of a hazard on a roadway. If you're driving in the wintertime and you're going down the roadway such as here, and you see snowmobile tracks coming onto the roadway and intersecting with the roadway, as you can see this person on the snowmobile here going across the roadway. If you see those snowmobile tracks, you're going to be on the lookout for snowmobiles because you know that they're going to be crossing the road or intersecting with the road at that juncture. Turning lanes, you need to get into turning lanes as soon as turning lanes start. That way you're going to protect your vehicle to the sides. It's the same thing when you're on multi-lane roadways. You don't want to hang out beside another vehicle and drive at the same speed, because it just makes it dangerous because you don't have a way out. And again, space management, it's faster to drive out of an emergency situation than it is to brake in an emergency situation. What you need, however, in order to drive out of an emergency situation is you have to have space. If you don't have space, you can't drive out of an emergency situation. So you also have to know the characteristics of your vehicle, you have to know the characteristics of other road users, and you need to know that there are 6, maybe 7 different types of road users on our roadways. There's pedestrians, bicycles, trucks, passenger vehicles, buses, cars, trams, trolleys, and there's people on scooters. There's people with mobility devices. So all of this is different types of vehicles that are on our roadways. And then in the spring and summer, you're going to get motorcycles, you're going to get RV units, you're going to get people pulling trailers and those types of things. And all of these different vehicles on our roadways have different characteristics, and you know, the bigger the vehicle, the slower the acceleration is going to be. And if you get into these rural areas in the wintertime where they have lots of snow, people are going to be out on their snow machines, and that's going to be another type of road user that you're going to encounter. So again, know this, and that way you can understand how traffic moves, what the traffic patterns are, and understand that traffic patterns are pretty predictable. And if you can interpret traffic patterns, if you can read those traffic patterns, you can understand the individual actions of different drivers and know whether they're going to be know what their actions are going to be. Another example of that would be if you're following a vehicle and they're driving slow and they're speeding up and they're slowing down and they're speeding up and they're slowing down. It could be a senior citizen, or the other thing it could be is it could be somebody from out of town who's lost and looking for a specific address, which, you know, is less likely in this day and age with GPS and those types of things, because it's pretty good in terms of directing us and making us more predictable on our roadways. So some of the things you want to put in place is you want to look farther down the road, you want to interpret the vehicle's movements, other vehicles' movements, you want to pay attention to your driving, communicate well, and you want to have patience. Don't pull right up on traffic when you're stopping in traffic or when you're in a parking lot or you're trying to get out of a parking lot or those types of things. Be patient, take your time, let other traffic go first, because again, even though you have the right of way, doesn't mean that you can go. If you're going to push your way through traffic, you're going to put yourself at a much higher risk of being involved in a crash. And I know lots of people who do. I drive with lots of people all the time, and I think to myself, ooh, I would never be that close to another vehicle. So there you go. So that's some ideas, and we can talk about that more in terms of giving away the right of way to other people who are insisting that they're going to go first, or, you know, just holding back and taking your time and getting to where you need to go without being involved in a crash. So good luck in your test. Remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. So we'll just head back over here. Just bear with me one sec here. Get the right screen going here. There we go. So we're going to head back over. And questions. Yes, there we go. So Jaden, donation alert. Thank you for that. And Edgar, appreciate you making all these videos. Thank you so much, Edgar, for the super chat. So yes, super chat is available. All right, and Colin is here. Jaden, hey Rick, is it illegal to have traffic lights from app? I was just wondering. Not following you, Jaden, in terms of what you're talking about in terms of the app. 380 James Mansfield Bar. DOT bumper. 380, are you talking about the ICC bumper on the back of the semi-trailer? Is that what you're talking about? Colin, life is really good. It's been busy the last few days, but I'm finishing up a project and I should be getting back here to the YouTube channel, so I'm excited about that. And Edgar, super chat, thank you so much for that. And again, for anybody who's passed a road test in the last couple of weeks, be sure to head over to the Smart Drive Test website and sign up for the register with the 100,000K program. We really appreciate that as well. Marlene, you're most welcome. Okay, Marlene, which page are you talking about that you weren't able to open? Because this... Okay, so Corey's looking after that. Excellent. Brian, can I pick up strangers on the side of the road? If so, how many? Brian, are you talking about hitchhiking? Yes, there we go. Okay. Hafzina, 70 people watching now. Yes. How's the 100,000 going? Hall phase. It's off to a slow start. Actually, I think I might have a glitch because I haven't had people register for a couple of weeks now, and I need to get Tim to look into that. So yes, really great. I failed. I failed my road test, and it was because of speed violation. Could you please tell me how much should be my speed on residential areas where there is no school and playground signs? So Hafzina, Corey. No, Corey didn't put up the video, but Corey will get the video for you on speed control. So essentially, speed control is 50 kilometers an hour in the city unless otherwise posted, or 30 miles an hour. On highways, it's 80 kilometers an hour, or 50 miles an hour unless otherwise posted. And in residential areas, you can do a little bit less than that, depending on, you know, the circumstances in place, if you have parked vehicles on the side of the road and those types of things. But for the most part, you need to stay as close to the speed limit as you can. Now, the other thing I would say have seen is watch the video on the mock road test, the practice driving test I have up here, and I'm driving in residential areas. You'll see that I very seldom hit 50 kilometers an hour in that video. So just know that, okay? Okay, what I meant to say was, is it illegal to hack traffic lights from an app? Yes, it is, Jaden. I would suspect that that is highly illegal. B. Smith, I watched your videos on parallel parking. Just want to confirm, when using cones, do I line up next to them so the cone is in my passenger rear window or third row window when driving an SUV? Now, B. Smith, according to the videos, the video that I made on parallel parking between cones, Obviously, if you're driving an SUV, it's going to be a little bit bigger. You might have to do some minor adjustments. Just do it a couple of times according to the formula that I give you, and then try, you know, adjusting that a little bit and see how it goes for you, okay? So, Tommy, when you drove in Australia, was it kind of weird driving on the right side of the road? Yeah, it was a little weird initially, Tommy. I did get used to it fairly quickly. And actually, it got to the point where I was driving in Australia and I used to come home to Canada, and it was a little bit of adjustment kind of going back. So, yeah, it is a bit weird in the beginning, but you can get there. Okay, there we go. So, Edgar, if I am on the left lane and there is an emergency vehicle coming from behind me, where do I move to? Okay, so Edgar, if you're in the left lane and it's easier to get to the left shoulder, move to the left shoulder. So if you've got emergency vehicles and they're coming up, you don't necessarily always have to get to the right, but get over as best you can. Sometimes you might even just stop and let the emergency vehicles go around you. That's going to be easier. All right, so there's the video. Corey got the video up on speed control. All right. Now, I just wanted to answer a question here. One of the reasons that I was prompted to do the hazard perception again and talk about that and talk about you can be right or you can be dead right is I had an email from a smart driver this week, and the smart driver was concerned because they were nearly in a crash. What had happened was they were driving down a multi-lane road in a in an urban area, and they're in the left-hand lane, and there's a car about a block, maybe half a block in front of them that's nosing out from the right. And you can see the car probably a good half a block. Now, for me, as soon as I saw the video, and I'm going to make a video about it because the smart driver's given me permission to use that video, which I really appreciate. And I'm going to make a video, but I'll just talk about it briefly here. Once you see that vehicle start to nose out from the right, you need to be covering the brake, and you need to be expecting that driver to pull out in front of you, because that driver almost certainly is going to pull out in front of you. So be on the lookout, get your foot over the brake, start slowing down, and if the person's going to go, just let them go. And that's sort of what prompted this discussion tonight about you can be right or you can be dead right, because if that person is going to insist on going, you're going to drive into the side of them, and obviously it's a very high risk on the part of the person who's nosing in from the right there, because that's a T-bone crash, and the T-bone crash are one of the more deadly crashes because there's no protection on this side of the vehicle where the door is. So if you're doing that and you're doing that, I would encourage you not to do that, because you're putting yourself in great danger with a T-bone crash there, because you could be killed or hurt. So, okay, Kevin, hi there. Thank you very much for your videos. Really helped me pass my test and improve my driving skills. Awesome, Kevin. That is really great that you passed. Congratulations on that. Definitely head over to the Smart Drive Test website and register for the 100K program. That really helps us out. All right, so we answered all those questions. B. Smith, you're most welcome. Luke, hey Rick, just wanted to say I passed my road test last Tuesday with 2 errors. Thanks for all the help. Luke, you are most welcome. Please head over to the Smart Drive Test website and register with the 100K program. That helps us out to reach our goals. We're kind of off to a slow start here, but we're going to ramp that up here. Excuse me. As I said, I'm finishing up a program, another project here, and then I'm going to get back to my YouTube channel here and start working on the business and really helping people. Ismail, no, but if you want, Ismail, we can get a 30% discount on the course, so you can pick it up for about 28 bucks. I think it's YouTube 30 to type into the coupon box there. For sure. But again, just send me a coupon, or send me an email, and I'll send you an invoice, and I'll give you that 30% off, okay? So anybody who signs up for this definitely gets the 30% coupon. 380, please do not stop directly in front of emergency vehicles. Yes, definitely. If you see them coming up behind you, if you're going to stop, make sure that you don't stop right in front of them, because it boxes them in. Excellent. There we go. All right. So, and Luke, where did you pass your road test? All right. So what I'm gonna talk about just briefly is, again, I'm gonna, you can be right or you can be dead right, and this comes back to the 3 top reasons for traffic crashes. The 3 top reasons for traffic crashes are speeding, failing to yield, and following too close. So failing to yield and following too close. following too close is something that you can change. You don't have to pull right up on other vehicles. You always want to stay back one vehicle length. You want to try and get into that habit of stopping behind other traffic or other vehicles so that you can see the tires making clear contact with the pavement. That leaves approximately one vehicle space between you and the traffic in front of you. And then failing to yield, failing to give up the right of way. Again, it comes back to that video, the dash cam footage that the smart driver sent me with the vehicle nosing out on the right. That vehicle is failing to give up the right of way because that driver doesn't have the right of way, first of all, because if you're merging onto a highway or a roadway from a private lane, you must give the right of way to other traffic. So that driver is failing to give up the right of way. That driver is insisting that he or she is right. But other drivers need to give up the right of way. They need to abdicate. They need to give it up, because if they don't, you're going to be involved in a crash. And this is what happens. This is why drivers get into a crash, because they insist that they're going to go. So, Luke, California. The city the DMV is in. Yeah, sure, Luke. And then what I can do is when I get done here, I'll put you up on the map of success too. So that's the other thing we get going, is the map of success. So I try and put all the drivers that let me know that they passed the road test, and I put them up on the map of success there. And Corey will put that link up for you as well for the map of success. So, and we had a question previously about road tests. So we'll just go over this quickly about road tests and what to expect on road tests. So again, I talked about the 4 components of defensive driving, the 4 components of passing a road test. Speed management, space management, observation, and communication. So speed management. Speed management. You need to posted speed limit, flow of traffic, capabilities of the vehicles, and that's for bigger vehicles, for trucks and buses. But speed management, posted speed limit, flow of traffic, whichever is less. Space management. Don't get near anything. Don't get near other traffic, other road users, or fixed objects, and that way you're going to be safe. You're going to pass your road test, because you never want the driving examiner to get, you know, angst about what's going on. Hall phase, I'll get to you in a minute here. Just let me finish this and then I'll answer your question, okay? So space management. Stop behind the stop line, crosswalk or sidewalk line, and where the 2 roads meet. Stop in traffic so that you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the pavement, and make sure that your following distance is 2 to 3 seconds. So that's what you need to do for space management. Observation, you need to observe correctly. So you need to have a scanning pattern in place. You need to scan far down the road, into your center mirror, far down the road, check your instrument panel, far down the road, check your wing mirrors, and then far ahead and check both shoulders of the roadway. So that's your scanning pattern while you're driving in a straight line. Anytime that you turn or you make a lateral movement, you're making a lane change, you have to shoulder check twice. Okay, one time to check to look for your gap, and then mirror signal shoulder check, and then you need to shoulder check again immediately before moving laterally or turning the vehicle. Shoulder checks are imperative. Observation, before you back up on slow speed maneuvers, you need to look straight out the back window. Sometimes you're going to need to adjust, especially if you're doing a parallel park where you're looking for your landmarks and those types of things, and you're going to have to pause, check your landmark, and then carry on with that, okay? So that's observation, and then you need to communicate effectively with other traffic, and communicating is with your signals, your lights, your horns, hand gestures, appropriate hand gestures. Don't tell other drivers they're number 1, especially on a road test. You won't be successful. Your horns, use your horn sparingly. If you, for example, you're in a residential area and you got children or pedestrians on the roadway, just tap your horn to let them know that you're there and you're on the roadway. And then finally, the position of your vehicle on the roadway is the most important way that you're going to communicate with other traffic. So those are the 4 fundamental components that you need in place to pass a road test or drive defensively. All right, so Hall phase. Okay, so I missed 2 questions here. So Hall phase's question, and Pearl, I missed your question. So I'll see if I can just find it here quickly. Just bear with me. Okay, Pearl, where did you go? Pearl. Okay, so Pearl, I don't see your question here, I'm sorry. And Nazo asked me a question that I didn't answer. What is an animal on the roadway? So Nazo, if you got animals on the roadway, Make sure that you're covering the brake. Make sure that you begin to slow down as much as possible. Sometimes, if it's a smaller animal, you don't want to try and dodge it. And you know, if it's a groundhog or a squirrel or something like that on the roadway, unfortunately, it's better to just run over it. I know for some of you that's going to create a lot of angst, but it's better the animal than it is you, because if you dodge the animal, you could potentially lose control of your vehicle. If it's a bigger animal on the vehicle, like on the roadway rather, like a deer or a cow or something like that, you want to try and slow the vehicle as much as possible. You want to try and get off angle as much as possible. So if you can, say for example, move to the right and hit less of the animal, that's going to be better. And as well, just before you hit the animal, make sure you release the brakes, because if you hold the brakes on, the front of the vehicle is going to go down, and it increases the chances of the animal rolling over the hood and coming through the windshield and potentially causing a great deal of damage and death to you. So that's another thing that you want to do. Now, if you're driving at night and you're in areas where there potentially could be animals on the roadway, try and follow other cars at a distance. That way you know that you're probably not going to encounter animals on the roadway, because there's somebody in front of you who's kind of your buffer zone between you and other animals. Okay? So, okay, thanks Corey for looking at that. Official, is it possible to do 3 drives instead of 4 on the drives with the instructor? I'm sorry, Official, I don't quite understand that question there. Okay, Tommy, can you please do live feed on going through toll booth and picking the correct lane? And if you're across the border into Canada and back into the US, it could be for everyone. Yes, for sure. We can definitely put that on the list, Tommy, because I know that would be helpful for a lot of people, because I know it creates a lot of kind of angst, and people don't know when you're going through the border and those types of things. And I know it's a bit intimidating, especially with customs and those types of things. So Edgar, thank you again for the super chat. Awesome. How long does it take you to drive manual, and what was the most difficult part about it? Okay, so manual transmission, Edgar, there's a series here on manual transmissions, and the most difficult part of learning how to drive manual transmission is clutch control. If you can learn clutch control, which you can, and you can learn it in 3 or 4 hours, learn how to control that clutch, that is the fundamentals of driving a manual transmission. And once you learn clutch control, then the rest is easy. And the 2 hardest gears in a manual transmission are first and reverse. Once you master first and reverse, and you can do that successively, then you're going to be able to master that, because after first and reverse, second, third, fourth, fifth, and if you got a 6-speed transmission, it's fairly simple after that. So watch the series, the 1 to 4 series, and Corey will put those up there for you, and that will help you out, in terms of learning how to drive a manual transmission. And just as another aside, I know that most of us in North America, the percentage of vehicles in North America that are fitted with manual transmissions is about 15 to 20%. Most of the vehicles, a high percentage of the vehicles in North America are automatic transmissions. However, if you go to Europe, it's the reverse. 75 to 80% of the vehicles in Europe are all manual transmissions, and then only about 20 or 25% of the vehicles in Europe are automatic transmissions. So it's a really good skill to have to be able to drive a manual transmission. So please learn how to do that. Okay, and Hall phase. I'm still, just ask me your question again, Hall phase. I'll be more than happy to answer that for you, okay? Okay, so Official, you have to do 4 drives before you take your test in Ohio, and I didn't know if it was possible to do 3 instead, but drive longer for each drive. Okay, Official, I don't know the answer to that specifically, because I'm not on the answers for that. I'm not up on the specific rules for Ohio, but for sure, definitely what I would do is just call the driving school and ask them if you can do that, okay? All right. So, and where'd we go? Okay, so Angel asked me, what do I need to know for the driver's test? All right, so Angel, what I would suggest you is have a look at the playlist on Learn to Drive, and that will get you started with that. What I would suggest to you, Angel, just watch the replay here and back the video up a little bit where I talk about the 4 components of passing a road test and remaining crash free. And those 4 components are space management, speed management, observation, and communication. You need to know those 4 things to be successful on a road test. And just quickly, I'll just fly through these. Speed management, the flow of traffic, posted speed limit or the flow of traffic, whichever is less. Space management, don't get near other road users, fixed objects, or other vehicles. That way you're going to stay safe. Stopping position, stop behind the stop line, crosswalk line, or where the 2 roads meet. Stop in traffic so that you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the pavement. Follow at a 2 to 3 second following distance behind other traffic. Observation, you need to have a scanning pattern in place. You need to shoulder check. You need to do 360-degree scans before you back up or force slow speed maneuvers. And then finally, communication. You need to communicate effectively with other traffic. Signals, lights, horns, hand gestures, eye contact, and the position of your vehicle on the roadway. And those are the fundamentals of a road test. Anywhere in the world, any class of license, all of that will help you be successful on a road test. Okay? So, if you're watching the video on the replay, thank you very much for watching. Consider giving it a thumbs up if you like what you see here. If you're new to Smart Drive Test, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate all of that, and all of that helps us to help smart drivers in and around the world to pass the road test. And if you've been successful on passing a road test in the last week or so, be sure to head over to the Smart Drive Test website and register with the 100K program. Our goal is to help 100,000 drivers in the next year pass the road test. So that would be motorcycles, passenger vehicles, cars, trucks, buses, and air brakes. So if you've been successful in that, register for the 100K program, and we really appreciate that, because without you, the smart drivers, working towards passing a road test, none of this would be possible. And it's been wildly more successful than I could have imagined. So if you have questions here, by all means, be sure to tune in, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Jasmine, thank you very much for the thumbs up. That's really great. Official, how can you stay alert and not wander off while driving? So, Official, when you say wander off, are you saying kind of daydreaming, or are you talking about fatigue over a long period of time when you've been driving for a long period of time? Just clarify that for me. I'd be more than happy to answer that for you. Okay, so I've got some videos in the pipeline that I need to get done. The one is I'm going to talk about that video that the smart driver sent in with the person nosing out from the right. I'm going to talk about that. It'll be a short video. I'm also going to get some CDL videos up, commercial driver's license, for those drivers that are working towards earning their license as a truck or bus driver and starting a career in that field. Definitely winter's coming on. I'm working on the winter driving course, and I'll get that up for you as well. And get some tips and advice in place. And by all means, if you're we're working towards winter time and you're a little concerned about winter, there's a whole playlist on winter driving and things that you can do to get your vehicle ready and those types of things. And we're definitely going to be talking about winter and those aspects of driving in the coming weeks, and give you some tips and techniques and information on doing all of that. And Jasmine, I learned so much from you. Yes, thank you so much, Jasmine. We really appreciate it, and we're glad that we can help out. And if you have any questions at all, by all means, leave us a comment, share the videos. All of that helps out drivers who are working towards getting a license, remaining crash-free, or starting your career as a truck or bus driver. So that's what we're trying to do here at Smart Drive Test. And again, Corey's been really great in getting up all the videos, so we appreciate that. Okay, so Official, daydreaming when you're driving on long trips. Yes. One of the things, Official, that I find helps on long trips is if I go to the library and get audiobooks. Generally non-fiction, those types of things. So that's one way that you can do it. The other way is you can have something to eat in the car. You can have somebody to talk to. All of that will help you to stop daydreaming while you're on long trips. Okay, Hall Phase. I keep missing my questions. So Hall Phase, I can't see your questions here on the thing. You're not here on the feed. Okay, all I see is you missed my question. So there was a couple of messages, Hall Phase, that were retracted. Was that your question? Because Or was the one about traffic lights, was that a question? Unless you break into the power box, because that's the last one that I have, Hall Phase. I did it, or 100K, how's the 100K going? Is that the question? Just let me know. Jano, do you have to do the posted speed limit when on the ramp while getting on the highway, or could we do 10 or 20 kilometers an hour? No, over. Jano, if you're merging onto a freeway or a highway, you need to do the posted speed limit. So, especially if you're on a road test, do not speed. Get up to the posted speed limit. As you're coming out on the on-ramp, as you're coming out on the acceleration lane, look for your gap and start matching your vehicle or positioning your vehicle either forward or backwards to meet that gap. But I would really say to you that if you're on a road test, don't speed. If it's 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, make sure that you're doing 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour. Don't speed. Okay, so Pearl, my questions are not appearing. Okay, so some of these questions are not appearing. I'm not sure what's going on here. Okay. Yeah, because I've had a couple of people tell me, and I'm not seeing them here. I'm looking at the feed, but I'm not seeing them here. Okay, so both Hall Phase and Pearl have both asked me questions, and I've looked for them and haven't seen them here. Okay, Royal, would you want to receive dash cam videos from us smart drivers to supplement some of your lessons? If so, what would be the best medium to send them to you? Royal, that is an excellent question, and I would really appreciate dash cam footage. Okay, so yeah, that, you know, especially if you have footage that you want me to look at and you want me to put to do some sort of analysis or critique on, I could definitely do that. That would be really great. Let me think about that, and I'll post something on the community tab there to see what happens. Okay, so Tim, this is a test question. So it seems to be working, Tim. I don't know where those questions are. Click live chat. All right, we got something weird going on here, and I do apologize for the technical issues we're having. Okay, so Hall Phase, you had a message that was just retracted. Did you retract that, Hall Phase, or did we do that? So Tim is here with basic Joomla tutorials. If you need a website, you need anything done with Joomla, Tim is definitely there. All right, so that's there. And again, Pearl, that didn't show up. Okay, so I need some place that you guys can send me video footage. That would be really great. Okay, so Jasmine, what's a G license? A G license is the province of Ontario here in Canada. For those of the working towards a passenger vehicle license, it's a G2 license is a learner's license. G1 is the novice phase of the GLP there in Ontario, and a full G is a full license in Ontario. Okay, and Corey's put up the video for how to get on a freeway. And there we go. Okay, and yes, first car. So Jasmine asked me about the first car. My recommendation is Honda or Toyota. Both of those brands I really like, and they are really good. So I would stick to one of those. There are other brands of vehicles that are good, and other smart drivers will give those to you. Now, this is a good question, and this leads me into a discussion I had with one of the smart drivers this week. She was looking for a vehicle, and I was helping her with that. When you find a vehicle that you want to buy and you're thinking about buying, first of all, know that the vehicle that you want out there is there somewhere. If you don't want to drive a silver vehicle, don't drive a silver vehicle. Just keep looking for a vehicle until you find the one that you like, you want to drive, and it's in good mechanical condition. Because you don't want to drive a vehicle, you know, friends don't let friends drive beige on beige vehicles, okay? So find the vehicle that you want to look for. The next thing is that go on Google, type in Blue Book, go, you know, so say for example, you're looking at a Honda Accord. You type in 2006 Honda Accord Blue Book reviews. And the Blue Book review will come up, and it will give you a review, an overall review of that vehicle. It'll give you the fuel economy, it'll give you the reliability of that vehicle, it'll give you safety ratings and all kinds of things. So that's some of the stuff that you need to look at for the vehicles. So type that in, look at reviews online, and see whether that's the vehicle that you want and those types of things. And again, the other thing that I recommend for smart drivers who are picking a first vehicle, because most of the time you're going to have a pre-owned vehicle, you're going to have a used vehicle, secondhand, whatever words you want to call it. take it to an independent mechanic and get them to do an inspection on that vehicle. It's gonna cost you about $100, but take it to a mechanic and get them to do it. As well, if you're really serious about buying the vehicle, it meets the colors and the standards and everything else, be sure that you do a pre-trip inspection. And there's a video here on the channel about pre-trip inspection for the purposes of a road test, but just go through and make sure everything works on the vehicle. Make sure all the lights work. Make sure all the controls inside, all the secondary controls inside the vehicle work, and those types of things. So there you go. That's what you need to do. But my recommendation for vehicle is Honda or Toyota. Okay, so questions coming in fast and furious here. Okay, so official, how far should you sit from the wheel? So official, you want to look at the video on 8 steps to set up the vehicle. Corey will put that up for you. It's in the Learn to Drive videos. Hall phase. Okay. 8 ways to stop sign. No. Pearl. 4-way stops. Is that what you're looking for, Pearl? There's a video here. Corey will get that up for you on 4-way stops. Angel, what do I drive? I have a 1998 Honda CR-V, which has 322,000 kilometers on it, which is 200,000 miles. It's been a great vehicle and worked really well. Okay, Tim. There we go. Okay, so Hall phase, send your question to Tim, and I'll be sure to get that for you. And Dragon Force, I can see you. Okay, so Dragon Force and Hall phase are the same person. There we go. Okay. Angel, I think I answered your question about the videos. All right, so this has been all interesting. And Vast90, what's your dream car? My dream car is a Maserati. It's not actually my dream car. It's the car that at some point in the next few years I'm going to actually drive. And actually, when I was in Victoria the last time, Tim and I actually stopped in at the dealership and actually looked at the Maserati, and it is a very nice car. So I'm going to go from my 1998 Honda CR-V to my Maserati. That's my car. Okay, Jano, I have a question on judging the gap when you are parallel parking. I really can't determine when I'm close enough to the curb to turn the wheel to the other way and back into the spots. Okay, so Jano, what you need to do is look at the video on variables of parallel parking, and that will give you some different variables for parallel parking that'll help you out to get the vehicles, to get the vehicle in the right location, sort of 8 to 12 inches from the curb. Okay, so Pearl, there is an 8-way stop sign where I live. Wow, that's crazy. So Pearl, can you send me the address for that? Just send it in an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com, and I'll have a look at that, and I'll give you some information, a little bit more information about that intersection, okay? So, okay, we're wrapping up near the end here. If you're watching on the replay, by all means, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. More than happy to help you out there if you have any questions or whatnot. And if you are new to Smart Drive Test, consider subscribing. And yes, we've had some difficulty with some of the chat and those types of things, so all phases back. I'm not sure what's going on with the chat tonight, but some of the questions from some of the smart drivers haven't shown up. So yeah, so Corey's put up the video there on how to adjust the vehicle. And that's a really good video for new drivers who are just starting out driving, because it'll help you to set up the vehicle, where to put the seat, how to adjust the seat, how to adjust the mirrors, other things that you should consider when driving, and those types of things. And it's imperative for new drivers to be comfortable in your vehicle, to drive it, and to be able to drive well. Jaden, I actually have caught my first road rage on camera. Should have sent it to you. Yeah, absolutely, Jaden. That would be really great. Manual transmission for cheap. Okay, so Hall phase, are you looking? Yeah. I think what you're asking me, Hall phase, can you buy a manual transmission inexpensively? Yes. Most manual transmissions are going to be less expensive because they're not as desirable in the marketplace. In other words, most people want to buy an automatic transmission. They don't want to drive a They don't want to buy that. So you can buy a manual transmission less expensively. And 380 doesn't seem to be working either. All right. This is not surprising, because the other thing that's happened on YouTube this week, is that all of the comments that were coming in on the videos were being dumped into my review pile. In other words, there's possibly spam comments held for review, and more than 75% of the comments were all held for review. So YouTube seem to be messing with their platform somewhere, and some of the things are not working properly. So yes, I don't seem to be having enough comments here for the number of people who are on the live stream, and I do apologize about that tonight, and I'll leave a note with YouTube and we'll see if we can get that working. Okay, Sebastian, Corey, I do door-to-door canvassing and keep getting police called on me because I have foreign plates and people fear I'm an intruder trespassing on there. What should I do? Sebastian, maybe park your car somewhere where people can't see the plates on your vehicle. Jacob, doing well tonight, just finished work. If you have any questions or comments, Jacob, we are having some problems with the live stream and some of the questions are not coming through that people are asking. So I do apologize about that. And hopefully YouTube will get that fixed up for us next week. Hall phase. What do you do if someone gives you the finger? What you do, hall phase, is you wave back very nicely, big smile, and carry on with your day, and everybody's going to be great. Sebastian, it's my job, and I'm collected over $540 in tickets. Yeah, Sebastian, I might suggest you park your car where other people can't see the plates. All right, what do you do not turn left timely during yellow light and stuck in the sidewalk? Is it awkward? Yes, it can be awkward, but it's better that you're there and waiting on a yellow light as opposed to entering the intersection and getting stuck there. All right, so we're going to leave it here for tonight. Again, if you've passed a road test in the last couple of weeks, congratulations on that success. Be sure and head over to the Smart Drive Test website and sign up for the 100K program. If you got a test coming up this week and you have any questions, by all means, leave me comments, send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com, and I'll get those up for you and get that answered and answer any questions to help you be successful. If you're new here, watching on the replay, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks very much for tuning in. Have a great night, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.